Awesome. Wow. I'm so excited to be here today and be talking to you, Krizia, because we have some really cool things to share about superfoods, about how food is medicine, and how our daily habits can help give us the health that we've always wanted. Yeah. So thanks for being here, people that are watching. And I just wanted to maybe start with you, if you'd like to introduce yourself and where you're coming from and the beautiful Sante Superfoods that you're involved with.
Sure. Hi everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Krizia. I'm part of a project in Costa Rica, based in Costa Rica, called Sante Superfoods. We do some prepared food with superfoods included in it that it helps people eat some superfoods every day without having to prepare the whole thing. So yeah, thank you for being here, and we're gonna start this talk with a little ideas of what we were supposed to talk last week. As some of you may know, we had some difficulties last week, but we're here now. So yeah.
Yeah, and then I was wondering, should we also speak it in Spanish too? Those people in Costa Rica?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Sí, bueno, sí, los de Costa Rica probablemente ya saben, ya me conocen. Soy Krizia de Sante Superfoods. Estoy con Danielle Arsenault. Ella es chef vegana y de comida cruda de un proyecto que se llama Pachavega. Es una escuela para certificarse como chef dentro de estas categorías. Y bueno, la idea de estos talks era que vamos a explicar un poquito cómo funciona la vida de comida cruda, de comida vegana y de los superfoods.
Yeah, and making sure that we kind of know what this buzzword is all about, superfoods. ¿Qué significa la palabra superfood? Y yeah, what is it exactly? But first, raw foods, right? Why raw? ¿Por qué crudo? ¿Por qué no cocina? I follow someone in Jamaica who says that raw foods are sun-baked fruits and sun-fried foods because they're baked or prepared with the sun, right? When you eat a fruit off a tree, it's ripened, it's ready to eat, it's going to nourish your body from the energy that it got from the sun. So I thought that was a really interesting way to see it, that the foods that we eat are powered through the sun and the energy of the sun. So can you imagine how much energy that is? But then you take that same food and you cook it, and all of a sudden you are diminishing the energy because the high heat damages a lot of the cellular structures, a lot of the vitamins in the food and the enzymes. So raw food, here we have this mango that fell off my tree. Los mangos, cuando están crudos, tienen mucha vitamina, especialmente vitamina C. Mira, y ahí están secas. So this is super cool. So vitamin, you know why this is super cool is because, okay, raw food in its raw state has so much power. It's got all those vitamins, especially vitamin C, vitamin A, vitamin B. But when you add heat to any food, actually, so this is getting to answer the question, why raw? When you add heat to any food, it damages the susceptible heat-soluble vitamins and the enzymes. But the cool thing is that you've got dehydrated mango there. So it's been preserved with time and low heat air in order to keep the enzymes and the vitamins active. So it's still a highly nutritious food that now you have, you know, something that's going to last you less than a week to something that will last you months, maybe a year. I mean, probably eat it before a year, but it technically could last you a year or more, right? Because we've removed the water Sacamos el agua, deshidratamos la comida y queda todas las vitaminas, queda los minerales, queda el fibre.
La fibra.
Fibra es como, okay. Yes, so lots of, you've basically locked in the vitamins, the enzymes, the fiber, and you have a nutritious food that's still considered raw, still has that sun energy, but is now preserved for a longer period of time. Now, if you're new to raw foods, or if you're a seasoned raw food expert, you do still lose a bit of the nutrition when you dehydrate the food, but very small amounts compared to cooking. And it's one of the most nutritious ways to actually safeguard the nutrients in your food. And next to fermentation, so dehydrating foods in controlled environment. So, you're controlling the temperature, you're controlling the time. These are two important factors, because if it gets too hot, a lot of commercially dried fruit is dried at really high temperatures, which really actually is cooking the fruit, and you're losing that nutrition. So when you dry it at a longer period of time and a lower temperature, you're going to keep that nutrition intact. So that's really the main reason behind why raw versus cooked foods. And then when we talk raw, we're talking about raw plant-based foods. Estamos hablando sobre comida cruda que es vegana, que no es como carne crudo. Y la razón que usamos la palabra cruda es para guardar todos los nutrientes. Eso es lo más importante cosa, en mi opinión. Y también cuando tiene toda la nutrición, ese va a ayudar su cuerpo en cada parte del cuerpo, donde necesita más. And so when you're giving your body this nutrition and you're focused on, the raw food, right? Keeping it as a whole, as close to nature as possible, you're giving your body the most nutrition it could possibly give you. And then that's going to go to every part of the body that needs it. So wherever you need the enzymes, whether that be to break down excess protein or calcium buildup, whether that be just to help facilitate digestion, it can go to where it needs, because you're giving it its highest, most top quality food. Does that make sense?
Of course.
Of course it does to you.
Yeah. It's great.
Mm-hmm.
So in this whole plant-based nutrition, that's where you discover superfoods, right? And looking for this complete way of living, that's where superfoods match.
Yes, exactly.
Start talking about what is a superfood.
Yeah, exactly. Superfood. I mean, we've coined this term. I don't even know if it has a Spanish equivalent. Do you just say superfood?
Superalimentos, pero yeah.
Superalimentos. Okay. Yeah. What is a superfood? Well, really, many foods can be superfoods. But when we say superfood, most people think of, things like Maca, Spirulina, and those are superfoods, absolutely. But common everyday foods can also be superfoods. So garlic, turmeric, ginger, lemongrass, blueberries, dark leafy greens like kale, chard, arugula, spinach. These are all considered superfoods in my opinion, and that is because we define superfood as a food that is jam-packed with nutrients. So it's a nutrient-dense food that builds health. So, and it's going to be beneficial to your overall health. So that's what defines superfood versus like any other food, right? If you look at a blueberry, it's high in antioxidants. It has anthocyanins, which are phytonutrient that helps that helps lower inflammation. It has, these phytonutrient compounds. There's like thousands of them in all the different fruits and vegetables that we eat, and every shade of every color of every vegetable is responsible for a unique phytonutrient, and that is unique to helping some sort of part of our body. So the anthocyanins specifically are going to help boost glutathione, which is what is it? It's an enzyme, an antioxidant, one of the body's most used and needed antioxidants. And this is going to help lower inflammation in the body. It's going to help you absorb nutrients better. So superfood just means a food packed with nutrients in its small little package. And the more nutrition it has, for example, moringa. Wow. Moringa is one of the top superfoods in the world. And this is going to be on my top 5 list that I'll share today. Let's say this, moringa, number one superfood. It has 96 minerals, so many that you can't even count, right? It's like, or to name. It has 90 plus antioxidant activity compounds. It has all the vitamins, right? A through K. So this is why it's a superfood, because it almost has everything the body needs to survive. But it doesn't have everything. And that's why you cannot just eat moringa for the rest of your life, because your body does need some other things, or maybe has a different sort of balance, and your body needs a different balance, right? So that's why you can't just eat moringa, because if moringa was the perfect food with every single thing in every single ratio that you needed, then you could just eat moringa and survive, which actually you probably could for a while. That's actually why we need a variety of food, because even spirulina, wow, it's so packed full of so many things. That's my number 2, spirulina. It's high protein content, which almost none of it is wasted by the body. It has omega-3 fatty acids, which is really good for brain health and essential for brain health, for focus and concentration. It is, it's grown in a sustainable way. So that's another thing with superfoods, is what's the backstory, right? Like, if we're thinking about ¿cuáles son los pasos de la comida, que de dónde vienen hasta donde está en tus manos? ¿Y cuál es la historia? Porque eso es muy importante también. Number 3 on my list is cacao. Some cacao is still rooted in slave trade and child labor in the world. So yes, it's a superfood. It's super high in magnesium. It's able to, vasodilate the blood, which then actually opens the heart, like physically, literally, but also can open and give us these feelings of euphoria, because it has a compound called PEA, phenylethylalanine. And this is a compound that helps promote the production of dopamine and serotonin, which are mood regulating neurotransmitters, hormones that help you feel good, So that's why that's a superfood. But it doesn't have every single thing in the perfect proper ratio for human existence. And that's why we have to get a variety. So what I love about the Sante Superfoods granola, okay, first of all, it's so delicious. That is like number 1. I was shocked at the deliciousness. Because someone says granola, you're like, yeah, I've had granola, but no, like this granola is so delicious. And I can tell immediately that you take the care, and that the superfoods in that granola, I can taste it. I can tell that it's super high quality, especially for being in the tropics.
Also, yeah, you can see, you know how properly dehydrated food looks and tastes. And well, bananas are not black. The seeds, the marañón is sprouted, and the difference between a sprouted nut and one that hasn't been.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, actually, a real quick tip to tell if a nut is sprouted. Well, if almond is sprouted, when an almond is not sprouted and it's just raw, when you eat it, it's kind of dense, and maybe there's like a bit of chewiness, just a little. When it's sprouted,
crunchy
and dehydrated, it's super crunchy, and it has a little hole in the middle because it's expanded and then dried. And so there's actually like a space in the middle, and it provides like, it's so crunchy and fresh, and the flavor is actually totally different. That's a topic for a whole other day, because I could talk hours about sprouting. But yeah, always soak your nuts and seeds and rinse them before you eat them.
Well, it takes time. It takes time. It takes at least one night or 12 hours to leave the nuts sprouting and then dehydrate it. For example, these mangoes, they took like 16 hours to be crunchy, to be discolored, to be, well,
yeah,
proper way.
Yeah,
I think it's very interesting also what you were saying about the superfoods that we get in the place that we are, or local superfoods. That's very, very, for example, you were talking about blueberries. We don't get blueberries.
No.
Here. We don't have planet, but we have strawberries. And we get a lot of antioxidants from strawberries, or from cantaloupe, or from what else?
Yeah, I mean, all fruits. I mean, even all the tropical fruits, like the mango and the papaya, and yeah. So that's, I'm here in Nicaragua, you're in Costa Rica. Maybe some people that are watching are from Canada. The reason I mentioned blueberries is because I miss them so much. Me encantan los arándanos y no existe aquí donde vivo en Ometepe. Puedo comprar congelados como Walmart si quiero, pero no son orgánicos y no. So tengo que esperar.
You can get them here, but they're really, really expensive, the fresh ones. And they probably travel the half of the world to get here. So yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
also,
and I mean,
what you were saying about spirulina, for example, because you've tried the spirulina that we have. It's crunchy, it's the whole form, it's sustainable. But we also get in the markets a lot of powder spirulina and a lot of spirulina mixed with other things. Mm-hmm. So we've tried to teach people and to tell people the difference between getting the whole form spirulina and powder. So I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about that.
Well, first of all, the whole form food spirulina is like phenomenally delicious, not like the powder. So if you've tried spirulina before, if you tried powdered spirulina before, and you're like, I don't like it, it's fishy tasting, the whole spirulina does not taste like that. It's actually something that I can literally eat by the spoonful. I love it so much. My daughter eats it every day. I actually made these special like superfood cookies for her that are high in iron. So I don't have to supplement with a chemical supplement, but yeah, she needs some supplementation for iron. So I made this amazing superfood cookie, which includes spirulina, hemp hearts, ground pumpkin seeds, Brazil nuts, quinoa, beetroot powder, cinnamon, lime juice, moringa, dates. And then I blended it all up and dehydrated it, and then I coated the outside with the crunchy spirulina. So it's really, I mean, amazing. And the difference is huge when you taste the fresh whole spirulina versus the powder form. In fact, I only eat the whole stuff. Like I search high and low for it. So I'm so grateful that you guys provide it, because
also when you get the powder, you don't know if it's 100% spirulina. So It's a difference if you're taking spirulina to supplement something and you're not eating 100% spirulina, then you're not going to get the benefits.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. It's unfortunate that would happen, that someone would do that, but it is true, because maybe it's, they're going to cut costs or something. And in a powder form, you have actually no idea if it's 100% pure, but when you have it whole in front of your face, there's no mistaking it, right? It's like, this is the real deal. Really great. So I think that's awesome. Yeah, that's you talk about the powder maybe being mixed. That's the backstory, right? That background. And like, what is that company? Who are they? what, you know, what do they believe in? What do they say? What do they share? And if they're saying like, yes, we are dedicated to, you know, sustainability, environmental sustainability, you know, at this point, I believe them, right? I'm not going to be like, no, what you're saying is not true. Like if they say it, I believe it, you know, until, and if they're going to be like behind the scenes, like saying they're all good and behind the scenes cutting corners, well, you know, maybe you'll never know, but, and maybe they'll get their karma one day. But yeah, I tend to trust companies that have that mandate moving forward. So like with you guys, like I know, well, tasting the granolas, but also knowing the backstory of like how you process the foods, how you're drying them at low temperatures for a long period of time to keep the enzymes whole, to keep the vitamins intact, to provide a high quality, nutrient dense food to go, you know, and especially for, you know, athletes, or really, I think that granola, the superfood granolas that you offer are good for everyone. Like Indy would eat some, my baby would eat some. You know, I could also give it to a world biking champion to take on his journey across, you know, the desert. I don't know, just making stuff up.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, so we mentioned spirulina, talked about moringa and cacao. There's two more. Sorry.
The top 5.
Yeah, top 5. Yeah, so the last 2 are maca and hemp hearts.
Okay.
So again, maca is a root vegetable, comes from Peru area, or in Peru, the Andes actually I should say, and it grows in a really high altitude. So it's used to being exposed to like a very extreme environment. And because of this, it is very adaptable. And because of that, it's actually called an adaptogen. So an adaptogen is a food or herb that allows our body to adapt to stress. So maca and cacao is actually an adaptogen as well. Many superfoods are adaptogens. They help our body adapt to stress. That's one of their superfood powers. So the maca, it's usually bought in powder form. So again, there's that question is like, where's the backstory? Where did you get it? What company brought it to you? You know, and price wise, if you're getting it for really cheap, I would think about that, right? Yeah. A superfood maybe will be a little bit more expensive, but that's the thing, is you don't need a lot of it. And just because it's good for you, it doesn't mean that a lot will be good for you, right? So I always tell like my students and my clients to eat superfoods often, but not every day. Not like, it depends on your personality. If you're a person who's like routine driven, I would say change up the routine. Like don't eat spirulina every single day for the rest of your life. Don't eat moringa every single day for the rest of your life. Maybe you eat spirulina for a week and then you take a break for 3, 4, 5 days and then you eat it again, or maybe you eat it every other day. The idea is that you're changing it up because you want to give your body all the different types of nutrition. So if you eat the same thing every day, you're giving your body the same nutrition every day, which then you're limiting the other things that you can eat. So really variety is key. So I'll just say that in Spanish quickly. Es muy importante para buscar una variedad de comida y de los superfoods o superalimentos que no están comiendo cada día. Tienes que cambiar diario. Entonces, si un día comes el spirulina y el próximo día tomas el chlorella, es otro tipo de alga, y el próximo día tienes que poner un tecito con café, perdón, un tecito con cacao y maca, por ejemplo. And just change it, cambiarlo. No cada día lo mismo cosa, porque quieres la variedad, necesitas la variedad.
La variedad. También es importante, lo hemos hablado varias veces, escuchar el cuerpo, y entender qué es lo que quiere tu cuerpo, porque a veces también la rutina o decir tengo que tomar espirulina todos los días, tal vez a la 4ª semana ya no quieres tomar espirulina y del sabor y todo, porque a todos nos pasa con todos los alimentos de alguna forma, uno se puede llegar a cansar de algo. Entonces, respetar lo que el cuerpo está pidiendo y también bajo el fundamento de que necesitamos la variedad de alimentos, es lo que hace de que todo funcione bien, que consumir superfoods tenga sentido y no sea nada más un deber, por ejemplo.
Yeah, and that's...
Otra parte que me pareció también súper interesante, que yo no sabía, que voy a decirlo en español, el tema de los adaptógenos. No sabía que tenían la capacidad de ayudarnos a adaptarnos al estrés, que es un tema que actualmente es como la pandemia más grande que tenemos. El estrés para todo el mundo es muy pesado desde antes del año pasado y del coronavirus, ¿verdad? Es el tipo de trabajo que hacemos, la vida que llevamos, la inmediatez, hace que todo el mundo viva un estrés muy pesado y desarrolle enfermedades a partir del estrés únicamente, que pues es muy triste que estemos así los humanos. Y bueno, si tenemos la ayuda de alimentos como la maca, como el cacao, que nos ayudan a procesar todo el estrés, pues, ¿por qué no consumirlos?
Sí, es muy importante porque por años, miles de años, los adaptógenos estaban ayudando los cuerpos de los seres humanos hace mucho tiempo, y se usaban porque saben que le ayudan a equilibrarse. Right? Yeah, so the adaptogens help bring your body to balance. It's called homeostasis. When the body is in perfect balance and everything is like flowing exactly as it should, it's in homeostasis. And homeostasis is actually the state that your body always wants to be in. So always your body's working to adjust its balance. So if you're, someone who is eating a standard American diet, you're not getting enough nutrition in your diet, then your body is doing this. So sometimes it goes pretty extreme, and you can see that coming out in illnesses, chronic disease, and those balances will be more extreme. So you'll maybe feel super exhausted, or you'll feel super ramped up, but it's extreme, right? Whereas when you're using adaptogens, when you're consuming adaptogens, it helps your balances be like this. So yes, you're still going to be working to balance, but it's going to be softer, because it basically, the adaptogens help a lot with the adrenal glands, with your hormones, with the endocrine system, your thyroid. It can help your nervous system. It helps so many different ways, and helps the body adapt to the stress. And so that could be physical stress. It could be mental stress. It could be, stress that you create yourself, or stress that's coming at you, right? It's not a cure-all. It's not going to fix everything, right? You have to work on your mindset as well, but it's something that can help, right? And so, actually right now is the perfect time. You just gave me an idea. I should do a masterclass on medicinal mushrooms and adaptogens. I think that's a good idea.
We'll be there.
Yeah, people are excited. I have had a few students, I have one module in my online course that is medicinal mushrooms and adaptogens, and a few students have actually expressed they want more, expand upon it. Yeah, they want to know more about these adaptogens, because it's very interesting, and it's ancient knowledge, right? Esa información es muy viejo. No es ahora, no es como, estamos descubriendo algo nuevo. No, it's totally from a long time ago, and we're just remembering this knowledge. And a lot of it comes, a lot of the adaptogens and superfoods are coming from traditional Chinese medicine, Ayurvedic medicine, so ancient forms of how to heal the body, right?
Indigenous.
Exactly.
Spirulina, Mayans were huge on spirulina.
Awesome. Yeah, and I mean the cacao, right? the Aztecs, they, in the Olmecs, they were some of the first people ever to consume cacao, and it was actually consumed as a beverage called chocotl. Is that how you pronounce it?
Chocolatl.
Chocolatl. Yeah, exactly. And which you get the modern day chocolate from.
Yeah.
But the cacao beans were actually so prized during that time that they were used as a currency. And they were like traded and bartered, and like, okay, I'll give you a sack of cacao for your pumpkin right there or something, right? And it was, and then the beverage that they created was actually only served to the nobility, to important people, to the priests, the royalty, because it was so sacred and so special. And they would drink it before really important decisions or really important meetings, because it would open their hearts and make them more grounded and more like open. Yeah. So cool. Like, I mean, the history, again, we could go on and on about the history of all these different superfoods. But yeah, let's bring it back to the top 5.
Yeah, the last one was Maca, so we're missing one. It was
hemp hearts. Yeah. So hemp hearts comes from the hemp plant. It's not marijuana, although that is like a cousin of it. But the hemp hearts is the inner kernel of the hemp seed. And when you consume it, there's absolutely zero relation to the marijuana plant. So just to clear that for people who are not interested in that, to know that hemp hearts are a superfood that have so much nutrition, but no psychoactive effects. Just if people didn't know. Omega-3 fatty acids, easily to absorb and digest protein. It even has little bits of chlorella in it, which can help with the blood. It's got trace minerals like tin and zinc. It's just amazing. This little power-packed seed full of iron as well. So as micronutrients and macronutrients, it pretty much checks all the boxes. And yeah, it's very, very sustainable as well to the planet. It's easy to grow. It grows fast. It's easy to harvest. And I really think it's one of our future kind of like savior foods. Because here in Ometepe, hemp hearts don't grow. But I was able to get some, and I have some, and from you guys from Sante Superfoods. And then sometimes when I come here, I'll bring some as well. But for me, I mean, if you're in North America and you're watching this, don't go a day. Well, wait, go every other day without hemp hearts. But yes, include hemp hearts in your diet. It is one of the most richest sources of plant-based protein and omega-3 fatty acids that you could eat. So
we could get into the part of how to use superfoods in everyday life, because hemp hearts I think that people don't know that much, or people are not used to eating. So I know you put hemp hearts to everything. I've been learning to do that.
Yeah.
But maybe we can talk a little bit about hemp hearts specifically, and then go back to maca, spirulina, cacao,
moringa. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So hemp hearts, I mean, you could use hemp hearts in substitution for almost any nut or seed. So if a recipe calls for peanut or cashew or walnut or anything, usually you can substitute it equally. Almond milk, hemp milk, right? But the good news about
how do you make hemp milk?
Yeah, that the best part about making hemp milk is sometimes, like with a lot of other plant milks, almond milk or coconut milk, you have to like strain it because it's so fibrous, but the hemp hearts you don't. So it's literally water and hemp hearts. So if you want to make a good amount, I would say go for half a cup of hemp hearts with 3 cups of water. Blend.
Done.
And done. Exactly. You don't have to strain it or anything. But for good measure, I would add maca, because maca is an emulsifier, and maca can help keep it blended Although I would only keep it in the fridge for like 4 days maximum. So make sure like when you're about to make your hemp milk, have a plan for it. You know, you can drink it straight, you can add it to smoothies. I wouldn't cook with it only because then you're going to lose some of that really important stuff. Actually, that's a good thing to mention. Most superfoods should be eaten raw as a general rule of thumb. So if you were making oatmeal, here's another way to use superfoods. If you're making a morning oatmeal and you put some hemp hearts, some spirulina, and a bit of maca on top of your oatmeal, I would actually, this is what I do. I have a jar. I have it here. I have a jar. I put some maca, some spirulina, and some hemp hearts in that jar. I shake it up. And then in the morning, I add a little scoop to oatmeal or quinoa, like as a breakfast cereal sort of, or throw a little scoop in your smoothie. Okay, so that could be banana, some spinach, some vanilla, and a scoop of spirulina hemp and maca. I do that with other adaptogens as well. I have a jar of adaptogens. It's all mixed together, different ones, and then I just put a little scoop. Moringa. I mean, moringa can be used as any leafy green. So the only thing is, like, sometimes like you have to pull off the tree over there, but it's not close enough. You just pull off the leaves. So you want to eat the little leaflets, and there are some sticks. And try to remove most of those as you can for a more pleasant experience. But if you don't care, then it's fine if you eat a few little sticks. They're not very hard, they're soft, but nonetheless you have to chew a little bit more. Or you can just throw a handful in your smoothie. But again, you want to eat the leaflets, not the whole branch. So you just hold it and you kind of pull, and they'll just kind of fall off. So eating the leaflets of the moringa, you can use it in sweet things. So again, like a smoothie, you could even add them to the oatmeal, or gallo pinto con hojita de moringa. Eso es lo mejor cosa para aprovechar el nutrición del moringa, porque toda la gente en Costa Rica y Nicaragua comen a gallo pinto casi diario. Entonces ustedes pueden aumentar la dieta con moringa in el gallo pinto. And when you mix it up, when you put it in and you mix it, they soften a bit, the leaves soften, and then you just eat it, right? So you don't want to cook the moringa leaves, you just want to add it at the end, and then you can mix it in to soften the leaves a little bit more. You can add them to a salad. You can add them to a salad dressing. I made an actually phenomenal dressing, and I kind of was really excited about it because it was better than I thought. Two whole avocado, the juice of a lime, a pinch of cumin, a pinch of salt, sea salt, a couple leaves of culantro, or if you have the cilantro, just like a small handful of cilantro, maybe a bit of chile, and then a whole bunch of moringa leaves. And I blended that up, and it's the best. It's so delicious. Oh, a little bit of water as well to make it a little more liquidy. And then I used it on like tacos. So again, with the tacos, you can use a big lettuce leaf and then fill it with whatever you want. Oh, I wanted to say one more thing about balance. We were talking about like basically these talks, right? Everything I'm talking about, we're always talking about having a balance, right? So okay, personally, I follow a 100% vegan diet, plant-based diet, but I'm not 100% raw. I don't eat 100% raw because I love beans and rice. I like to cook quinoa. I also sprout quinoa, but what I'm looking at is overall as a percentage, I'm eating anywhere from 60 to 80% raw, which might be in the sauce. The sauce might be that sauce I just described over beans and rice with some shredded carrots, shredded beets. But you don't have to be perfect to benefit from the nutrition in the food that you're eating. So if you're adding spirulina, maca, hemp hearts, moringa to the foods that you're already eating, you're going to have health benefits regardless. Eventually down the road, if you're ready to make a bigger change and a bigger step, and you want to leave behind some foods that you know are probably not helping, then, well, I'm here for you. So is Krizia. But yeah, I mean, you don't have to say, okay, oh God, I have to do this whole thing and I have to change. No, just start adding the spirulina to, whatever, anything that you eat, really. Even a curry, like if you make a curry, or even if you go out here, there's another tip. Take a small jar with you when you go to a restaurant and add a little sprinkle of spirulina superfood maca to your meal that you're eating at the restaurant. Why not? I used to do that a lot when I travel, because if I travel for like a long period of time and I might not be, maybe it's like grocery store food or a few times eating out, but maybe I'm feeling I'm missing some superfoods, then I'll add to my food. Puedes añadir espirulina, maca de la comida que ya comes. Entonces, normalmente, como es ese en el día, solo puedes poner un poquito encima, estás teniendo más nutrición.
Eso está genial, eso nunca lo había pensado, andar los superfoods uno para poderlos agregar a cualquier cosa. Sí, me encanta.
Mira, yo tengo ese, por ejemplo, este tiene sal ahora, pero es chiquita.
Ajá.
Y es plástico, pero puedes hacer un de vidrio o de cualquier cosa, y es chiquito, pero llenarlo con la mezcla de superfood y pone en la bolsa. Y cuando vas, está ahí. Yo tengo ese. Ahí.
That's a good idea for Sante. We can make a little jar and say
Yes, no, for sure. Yeah. And it's like your daily multivitamin.
To go.
Yeah, to go. Exactly.
Yeah. Nice.
A pinch of pink salt, or a pinch of sea salt to that. Because even actually salt is a superfood, right? It's super high in iodine, or sorry, not iodine, sodium, obviously, but it also has trace minerals, right? Very, very different from iodized table salt. Iodized table salt actually has maybe toxic derivatives of potassium iodide. It came about in the early 1900s when they were discovering that people are having a shortage of iodine in the diet. So they decided to add iodine to the salt. So that's why it's called iodized salt. But right now, we don't really need that because there's so much of a variety. Although people that are lacking in iodine can get a natural source of iodine from seaweed and sea vegetables. So kelp, dulse, wakame, different sea vegetables are going to add iodine back to the diet. Yeah, but sea salt and pink salt are considered superfoods because they're full of trace minerals. And of course, you're just only wanting a pinch, right? But thinking like that, oh, my salt is actually a superfood, can also help. But make sure you're getting the quality salt and look at the backstory of the salt. How refined is it, right? Is it stripped of all its nutrients before it's packaged for you? That's a big difference than a raw salt. This is actually sal del mar de ahí, just from the Pacific coast. Yeah.
Okay. So I think we've covered everything, right? Maybe?
Yeah. We took some notes. There were a couple of things that we wanted to just mention. Superfoods for immunity, hormone balance, athletics, and for babies. So I talked a little bit about the hormone balance. So maca and cacao, these superfoods, and the adaptogenic superfoods can help with balancing hormones. What can also really, really help with hormone balancing is just a fiber-rich diet. So very high in fiber, and immediately the first thing I think of is chew, mastica la comida. When you're eating a high fiber diet, Chris, my partner, he just eats way too fast and he definitely doesn't chew enough. Two things can happen: digestive discomfort if you don't chew enough. Also, malabsorption of different nutrients if you're not chewing in depth, or chewing enough a lot. So probably we all just don't chew enough in general. So let's just, if we can start a practice by just thinking, okay, chew like a few bites more before you swallow, Yeah, and that can help hormone balance, but that's going to help everything because it's going to help you absorb the nutrition better. It'll help your gut health. It'll help your digestion. Athletics. So again, like these adaptogenic superfoods are going to be good for people who are doing a lot of athletic endeavors because your body uses more when you're pushing your body. And you need to give it back what it needs to thrive. So when you're pushing it into a state of like a fight or flight, or, you know, you're pushing it into a stress situation, you want to make sure that you're refueling afterwards. You know, like a 4-to-1 carb protein ratio. Yeah, 4-to-1 carb protein ratio for replenishing like protein after a super heavy workout. So even maca is actually quite high in protein, pound for pound. Same with the hemp hearts. Of course, I'm going to be speaking from a plant-based perspective. And if you have watched The Game Changers on Netflix, or actually that's a great documentary to start there if you haven't, but it basically proves scientifically that a plant-based diet, you know, is great for the body and can actually help you thrive. But you do have to have a little bit more insight into how to refuel yourself after a hard workout. So superfoods can help with that. And then for babies, that's actually going to be our next talk next week. Yeah, so same time next week. We're going to talk about like basically a day in the life of a vegan baby. And I'll have to say that I've been a little bit nervous about that one because I'm not an expert in child nutrition. I know a lot, I've studied a lot, but my expertise is mostly in adult nutrition. Although I've taken what I've learned and I'm applying it to my own personal life and my own baby. Yeah, and so when I give advice of the day in life of a vegan baby, it doesn't mean that, and remember, it's a day in one day in the life of, you know, and remember, we can't eat all the foods we want in one day. So really, it's just a snippet. And maybe, you know, before I get any flack from anyone saying, oh, you're missing this, it's just one day in the life, just to give you an idea and maybe some more advice and not even advice, just ideas, different recipes, and just things that I do. Because I'm not going to be doing the same thing every day, right? Like in the morning, she eats mango because it's mango season, and bananas. But that's what we're doing right now, right? It doesn't mean that we're going to do that every single day for the rest of her life. So I just think the most important thing is, you know, staying educated, which means being open to learning what's happening now with the nutrition science, something that I'm committed to in Pachavega. I spend at least a few hours a week reading new scientific studies that come out, reading books that are coming out about nutrition science that's right now, valid right now. A lot of the nutrition myths are rooted in old science that have actually been proven otherwise. Like, for example, you can't get protein from a plant-based diet. That's absolutely false. And that's still a myth that persists. People ask, oh, you're vegan, where do you get your protein? It's like, well, you don't realize that actually plants are the ones that have protein before the animals, right? Where does the ox, the cow, the elephant, the gorilla, where do they get their protein? From grass and leaves and plants. So this is just a myth, you know, and I'm committed in my business to finding out really like what is human health and what is the optimal human diet, which again brings in that balance, because maybe it's not, you know, one particular way isn't going to be the right way for everybody, because everybody is different. Some people thrive with more raw foods. Some people thrive with more grounding foods, you know, and then that just brings in this idea of our constitution, right? Like, oh, wow, that's a whole concept from Ayurvedic medicine that everybody has a unique constitution and, you know, we thrive on different things. So I guess the whole point is that here's one way to do it. Here's the raw vegan lifestyle, which doesn't mean you're 100% raw, could be 90%. You could still say that you're living a raw vegan lifestyle. That's one way, right? But almost every single way will say, eat more plants, okay? Eat more plants, eat a lot of raw plants. Cooked plants are good too. right? But that's generally where it all comes. Traditional Chinese medicine, like indigenous, every single human being on the planet needs to eat fruits and vegetables to thrive, in different amounts, right? So the idea is, though, how do we make that food taste good? How do we make it sustainable? And how do we optimize the food that we're eating on a daily basis with superfoods?
Yeah, and that applies to everything. That's what we're looking for in everything. Everyone wants to eat better. Everyone wants their body to be healthy. Everyone wants to feel good. So
yeah, exactly.
This is a way.
Yeah, this is one way. Yeah, it works for me, and it's worked for hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah. Okay. But yeah, you got to listen to your body, right? Try it. Try for a while, see how your body feels. Right? If you're feeling great, keep going. If you're not feeling so good, maybe you need to adjust to do something different. So I think that's always like the most important thing, is like checking into yourself and figuring out like, okay, what does my body need and how is my body? So
okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think this was a really nice talk, and I've learned a lot.
Amazing.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Muchas gracias a todos los que vieron el video, y esperamos verlos la próxima semana.
Yeah, I'll see you next Tuesday. We'll do another one, same time, same place. Well, I'll be sitting in the same place, this beautiful tropical jungle. Yeah, and we'll talk about the day in the life of a vegan baby. And hopefully it'll give you some ideas if you have some babies. All right. Thank you, Krizia.
Bye.
Bye.